Just a little bit about what we're going to do today. We're going to spend like 15 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm just going to talk briefly about the mobile landscape and what I think the industry drivers are to make this problem in the industry, which we have to build applications faster, cheaper, and with more comprehensive functionality. And then I'm going to turn it over to Dominic, who's actually one of the co-founders and chief architect of a company called Mobile Igniter. And I'm going to let Dominic get hands-on and actually show you. You're actually going to build an application for us in about 10 or 15 minutes. Okay, so 10, 15 minutes, just kind of industry stuff. 10, 15 minutes, we're going to show you how to build an app. And then what we'd really like to do, for all those interested that have notebooks, laptops here, whatever, is to actually get hands-on and spend the last 10 minutes of the session actually building an app with you and helping you do that, get hands-on. So the ideal cool thing would be you walk out of here with your own app that you built. So let's see if we can pull all of that off, okay? Let's go ahead and get started with slide one, Dummy. Thanks. Okay, so just a little bit, you heard all this yesterday, or sorry, just this morning. Richard, I think, did an excellent job about kind of describing this huge market and what's happening kind of in mobile. He gave us all the numbers, all the stats, and all that kind of good stuff. What's important to us about this is it's created a huge demand, right, from companies and consumers, right, to build mobile applications. This is kind of the byproduct. All the stuff, everyone has devices, right, but we can't get mobile apps built fast enough and get them to market quick enough and do it in a way that's economical, right? So it's kind of like, this is like a huge problem for us that we're looking at trying to solve. It's like, why does it cost so much money to build an app? Why do I have to get an iOS developer when I want to do something? Why do I have to spend $100 an hour to get an Android developer, right? So there's this kind of problem. This has created a huge problem in the industry, both for consumers and in the enterprise. So my kind of key background is in the big enterprise space. There's a lot of mobile apps that are kind of being developed kind of in the app store and for the end consumer. And that's going to, I think, going to be a never-ending kind of need. But a lot of the focus that I have with a lot of companies and the customers that I deal with is the big enterprise. The big enterprises are moving slower. And we're really trying to figure out how do we mobile enable big Fortune 500 and Global 1000 companies, while at the same time giving a framework for kind of the end user that wants to build their own mobile app. And I'm one of them. I just built, I'm actually a commercial pilot. I got a pilot license. And one of the things that we do is we schedule and rent planes and charter planes and all that kind of good stuff. And I wanted to build an app so I could do my own scheduling of the aircraft, basically. So I actually used myself, right, on a personal level, built using this kind of platform that Dominic's going to show us, built my own app at it took me about 2 hours to build it in terms of getting kind of air flight scheduling. So even on a personal level, it's like, well, why can't we do that? Each one of us should be able to have tools and processes available to us to build our own app, basically. Okay, so that's kind of one of the key drivers in this whole kind of application space. Now, when you look at it on the left-hand side, this is kind of the current landscape as it sits today, and this is where we think there's kind of a problem really in the industry that's driven by this really high demand of all these mobile devices. On the left-hand side, you've got coders. How many developers do we have here today in the room? Developers. Look at this coder. Half the room is developers. So, no offense to the developers in the house, but man, you're expensive. You're hard to get a hold of. Sometimes you miss your deliveries, right? Sometimes your code doesn't work, and that's okay. That's just the reality of it, right? Guess what? With that big bar that we just showed, right, there's more demand. There's not enough developers. That's just simple, right? There's not enough developers to build mobile apps. So we can go and try to hire the developers in the house, and then there's some other tools that take technical developers, right, to do it, called Accelerator and PhoneGap. And so here's the problem. It still takes too long. It takes too long to build applications. It should take an hour or 2 hours, right, to build kind of a simple app to get up and running. Not 2 days, not 3 weeks. And the other thing is, it costs too much. Sorry, guys. I know you're making a lot of money. I know iOS developers make a lot of money. These Accelerator guys that understand that technical framework. I just saw a guy bid out a job, $140 an hour as an Accelerator engineer to go build an app, basically. So it's expensive, and the other thing is limited resources. It's hard to get a hold. It's hard to find good quality developers. So then we move kind of to the next thing, right? There's been a couple companies out there in the industry that saw this problem and said, let's create CMS, right? Content management systems, right? So this is what, when you think of, you download a mobile app, this is like what I call brochureware, right? You get an application, and it might be the Marriott, and you can look at their rooms online and all that kind of stuff, and then you can look at their brand and look at some of the videos of their conference facility, all that good stuff. Kind of the brochureware. This is content management, where what the application really does, it actually sources content from probably their website, or somebody's kind of putting that piece in. That's kind of the middle pillar right there. So here's the problems with that, right? You go and look at, you're at the Marriott, and then you're looking at, hey, here's the content, here's the room. Why can't I just push a button and schedule and check out, right? Why can't I just build an application that talks to the Marriott backend guest reservation systems and do that? So these are usually too restricted, right? They're just too restricted because they're just relative around the content that you put in, and they're not easily extensible, right? I can't plug and play and build different things. And then on the far side of the thing, right, there's this huge thing with the mobile web, right, which is just if you think this is content that's really built, to be presented on the different device types, be it a tablet or basically a mobile phone. And so the problem with kind of those two is that you always have to be online, you always have to be connected. Second thing is poor performance. Generally speaking, you can't take advantage of native caching on the phone. And of course, the other thing is, hey, there's so many cool things that you can do with using the accelerometer and the camera, the GPS device, and all those hardware-dependent devices. And we use mobile web, you can't really access that. So these are kind of just kind of the general landscape. These are the three pillars that, although the industry is moving towards that direction to find solutions, right, we still don't really kind of have that whole complete kind of solution, basically overall. So what I wanted to talk about here is how do we combine. Now this is kind of a really high-level kind of architecture. How do we get a platform, right, that can be built where I can still take advantage of kind of all the native devices, right, for the camera and the push notification services that we talked about, but then at the same time moving in on the architecture and get access to kind of real-time update and presentation, right? I don't really want to get static data, right, on the actual device itself. I want to get real-time data, but in the event that I'm in the mountains hiking or if I'm some location where I go offline, that the platform allows to do kind of local level caching on the phone itself. Right? Now, obviously, anytime you break a connection, whatever the time that you break that connection, that's going to be the last time that that content is refreshed and available. At the same time, and this is the big part that from my perspective, this is the part of the mobile data that we heard from Richard this morning that nobody's looking at, nobody's really penetrating, and this is the enterprise. This is Fortune 1000 companies that are trying to mobile enable their workforce, right? From if you have remote salespeople out in the field, how do I do new product announcement and push that information in real time out to the sales force? If I just got a notification this morning from a portfolio company that just hired a new employee. They need approval to get a corporate Amex card basically enabled, right? It's a sales guy who's flying out to Silicon Valley next week. He needs that corporate card overnighted by Monday so he can make his trip. Right? Where is that mobile application that connects to the enterprise that allows to push a button and get into their PeopleSoft system to approve basically the American Express card at the back end? So our vision here of where the mobile industry is going is we believe and see it shifting from kind of the consumer side, which has been growing right exponentially, into the enterprise, right? So building mobile apps and having connectors and adapters into the back of the enterprise is kind of a key kind of vision and direction that we're kind of looking at overall. Okay, so what are some of these different connectors, right? I gave some examples there, booking tools, games, sports, all this kind of stuff. It's like, how do we build, everyone thinks of building a mobile app. What this is about, this diagram is showing is about how do we get away from thinking about building mobile apps and just looking at apps is nothing more than a viewer. It's a window. It's a window right into the enterprise. It's a window into back-end systems. And move away from our thinking that, everything should be developed like mobile first. That's kind of a big theme, build for mobile first, and then you kind of back-end it in kind of the back-end platforms. And this is going to be, we believe, kind of an important movement in the mobile, industry, is that you move away from app development and actually build mobile solutions. Mobile solutions is going to be the next wave. It's when you can take advantage of the enterprise and all the information and data that's built already back in legacy systems and mobile enable basically those systems. So the other kind of key thing is we can't forget about the end consumer like myself that needed a mobile app from my aircraft experience, right? So any non-technical user should be able to get in and build whatever little mobile app they want. But at the same time, for those developers in the house, right, instead of just building your mobile app for the one company or the engagement that you're signed up to be, we believe there's going to be a complete shift into where these marketplaces will exist, right? This is a little forward-thinking. Marketplaces that will exist where PHP and other developers, right, that have kind of common language skills are going to be building these adapters, basically connecting back into the enterprise. Okay, and that's going to open up a completely new wave of mobile solution development, not mobile application development, essentially. So with that, I think what I'd like to do is I'm going to turn kind of the rest of the presentation, give Dominic some 10 or 15 minutes here to actually kind of build a mobile app, just using one of these frameworks. This happens to be the one from kind of Mobile Igniter. He's going to build us a really quick app and still the different functions and features, and then would love to have kind of interactive Q&A. This is really kind of a two-way educational kind of forum as well. And then for anyone that kind of wants to stick around for the last 10 or 15 minutes and really get hands-on and go build, let's go build some apps. Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Dominic.
You're gonna talk through this while I drive.